Yeah, my name is Ajololo, Leonard Kofi Ajololo. I'm a senior research fellow, and my area of specialization is animal nutrition. The Livestock and Poultry Research Center, originally known as the AgroLink Research Station, which metamorphosed to AgroLink Research Center and currently Livestock and Poultry Research Center, was established basically to conduct research and training in all species of livestock and poultry in Ghana, with the aim of helping address the challenges of the industry. The state of the poultry industry in Ghana is not something that we will be happy with. And we are mostly not happy with it because there are so many challenges, some of which may appear so easy to solve and yet are not being solved. But if I will summarize all the various challenges, I will pin it down to inadequate investment. Inadequate investment, for example, in breeding farms. And so we have a national industry dependent on the European poultry industry for supply of chicks, for supply of fertile eggs. And so if we wake up tomorrow and they say we cannot import poultry products from Europe, there's likely going to be a collapse of the poultry industry in Ghana. There's too much dependency on other countries. And it's largely because we are not investing in poultry farms, breeding farms that will supply the inputs needed by the various poultry farmers. So it is one major challenge. There are other challenges. For example, we have a huge demand for poultry products, and yet there are farmers producing and complaining they cannot sell. And it is just because the value chain has not been properly structured and developed. So we have gaps, industry gaps. People produce, and we don't have processing companies that will just pick up from the farmers and process. Eggs are going bad. Broilers are overgrowing on farms. And so with some investment, if we are able to bridge these gaps have been identified. If you talk to the poultry farmers, they can tell you about the challenges they are facing. They've identified the challenges getting investments in these areas in order to link up one component of the value chain to the other, to free the farmers the challenge of where to get input from and what to do with what they produce. The heavy importation is influenced by several things. Often we talk about pricing. They are bringing products that are cheaper because of subsidies they enjoy in their countries. But besides that, they're also bringing products that are more convenient for the consumer. So, for example, let's take the university. We work in a university. A student who wants to prepare light soup probably need one thigh of a chicken. It is difficult to get a thigh from the local producers. You have to buy a whole chicken and cut it up before you can have your soup. Several people may not be ready for that or may not be able to afford that. So the convenience is one major reason that makes people go for the imported one, not only the price. Many Ghanaians will tell you if it comes to the taste and the quality, they will prefer local chicken, locally produced chicken. And so we see that during Christmas, when people are ready to spend, most people go for the locally produced chicken. But we should be able to get to a point where we are able to process and cut it up and get people who want just a bit of chicken to be able to afford. And also, the eateries, the restaurants, the chobas want particular parts of the chicken for what they do. I mean, how many restaurants will be willing to buy rib cage of chicken for what? How many customers will buy? But if they are supposed to buy whole chicken and cut, so many parts will go waste. So they would rather go for thighs only, or some parts that will be of use completely to them. And so if we can look seriously at the processing and cutting it up and getting people the parts that they want, I believe the demand will skyrocket, the demand for local chicken. The center has several units in terms of research and also in terms of production. In research, our main areas of focus are nutrition and forage science, animal genetics and improvement, animal health, agribusiness and innovative systems. In terms of production, we have units that are a little different from the research unit. So we have a poultry unit, for example, we have the piggery unit, we have a feed production unit, we have pasture development unit, we have animal traction, that's utilization of animal for work. And then we have the supporting units like works unit that keep us going, the account unit in charge of our financial matters. We have a lab, a laboratory that handles quality control issues and research issues. We have a veterinary clinic that also takes care of animal health and disease surveillance issues and so on. So these are some of the units, not an exhaustive list, but some of the major units that we have on the center. The research activities range from animal nutrition. For example, in that area, we are looking at developing strategies to solve the major nutrition challenges that are faced by farmers. For ruminant farmers, one major limitation is how to feed the animals during the dry season, when we don't have grasses growing for animals to easily feed on. What do they do? So there is a lot of work in the area of developing non-conventional feed resources that can be relied on in that period of time. We are also looking at animal breeding and genetics. So for example, currently we have an active research in the area of grass cutter breeding. Grass cutter is now being domesticated, but there is a challenge with handling because a lot of them are not fully domesticated. Some are aggressive, some are they show unusual behavior. But we know that behavior is related to genetics. And so we are doing some work to select grass cutters that are more docile, more easily handled, so they will be easier to handle by farmers. We are also looking at forages. As we intensify ruminant production, we have to be able to produce cattle, sheep, goats on limited land spaces. Land is no longer limitless, where you can just roam with your animals and find something for them to eat. So how do we intensify ruminant production? How do we keep our cattle and small ruminants within our farm premises? That would involve, for example, developing forage resources. So what kind of grasses would do well in what environment? And how do we propagate these species in a way to ensure adequate nutrition of our animals within the small spaces available? If that goes very well, it will mean, for example, we can begin to shift from extensive grazing, people sending their animals into other people's farms to destroy, which is a cause of conflict all over the country. And if that goes well, I believe we'll be able to contribute significantly to reducing the farmer-grazer conflicts that we often see in the country. In the area of housed animals like pigs and poultry, the focus has been to develop feed formulations and feed additives that will be able to enhance feed utilization. For example, there was a lot of work done in the past about using antibiotics as feed additives. Currently, we know the dangers involved, and so there's a shift away from that. How do we find alternatives to in-feed antibiotics. So one major work, for example, involves developing herbal additives that can be used in animal feed. Cheaper to use, no or limited residual issues, and also be able to enhance animal production and even enhance animal products. Whatever product we get from the animals can be of better quality due to manipulation of the animals' feeding. So these are, in brief, some of the areas of active research. And also there is some work being done in animal health. For example, looking at zoonotic diseases, diseases of animals that can affect human beings directly. And I have a colleague who are working actively in that area and who is looking at the epidemiology of some of the major zoonotic diseases we have in Ghana, like from pigs, from cattle, or from any other species. And we should be able to, at any point in time, have an idea where these diseases are showing up and how to protect our farms, how to seal off our farms from getting contaminated. Because as for outbreaks, we can't prevent them completely, but we should be able to have ways of containing the outbreaks and at the same time isolating your farms through the appropriate biosecurity measures. So all these are being experimented on as part of our general research mandate. In academia, the major way we disseminate our research is through publications. I know many people will not be happy with that, but once the material is published, it's available for the whole world to read. And it is also the most useful way of disseminating information because it gets checked, peer-reviewed by colleagues who can testify whether it is of good quality, whether the work was done properly or not. So it will continue to be the major way of disseminating research information. But besides that, occasionally we do a lot of on-farm work with farmers. And once the work is done on-farm, the results are normally available to the farmers to apply. And such on-farm studies would normally involve the extension services of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And so from such studies, results are always available to the extension officers and to the farmers. We also have relationships with RELC, Research and Extension Linkage Committee, which sits at the CSIR, Center for Scientific and Industrial Research. And they bring together researchers, farmers, extensionists, and so on. And so through such engagements, a lot of research is shared. And so information gets directly to the farmers and to the extension officers who will later train farmers in some of these areas. CSR is a major collaborator. We also collaborate with other universities and with agencies that support research. So, for example, we have had support from the Australian High Commission. We have had support from Innovate UK, and other institutions. I can't list them all, but most of our activities are funded by institutions that basically make funds available for research, and also other research institutions, because we don't have all the capabilities within our center. So we collaborate with other research institutions, and also within the university, we collaborate with other departments. So if you have the opportunity to go to the field, for example, we'll see projects that are being conducted by other units within the university, right here on the center. The center faces several challenges. And if I summarize our challenges into one, I will say it is funding. You know, for a research center, our major source of funding is research grants. To be able to attract research grants, you need to have your facility or your institution in a state that will make it attractive for research grants. For example, you're competing for grants with institutions all over the world. What can you do? What is your research capability? What kind of research infrastructure do you have to execute particular projects? What kind of competencies do the technical people have, training opportunities, and so on? All these contribute to making the center attractive to funding. And so, if you are in an institution where a lot of the facilities are very old and equipment keep breaking down and cannot be replaced easily, it's very challenging. And it puts us in an egg and chicken situation. Somebody says, oh, but get the funding, and with the funding you can improve the facilities. But we also know that once we improve the facilities, we can't get adequate funding. So there's always the issue. But basically it's about funding. The funding, and then the ability to attract good quality human resources to support the research effort. For the poultry industry to go forward, I believe there should be a lot of marketing. Poultry production, poultry processing, poultry marketing, these are all lucrative areas of work. If we should get the adequate information out to people, let young entrepreneuring people get to know that you can make money from this area, and get them to be supported by the appropriate policies that will be able to ensure that if you put in your 10,000 Ghana cedis, you're not going to lose. I think we can begin to attract a lot more funding. It's about getting the industry properly structured. And some of these things must be done by government, some must be done by institutions like us, some must be done by the media, highlighting the potentials that exist in the industry. I think it's a major way of getting the interest. For example, let me give an example of the pig industry, although that is not our focus of discussion. Once upon a time, there was a program called the Pig Show, Pork Show, that highlighted pork and its products. That was many years ago. Since then, pork has become a mainstream meat. And you see people selling pork by the roadside, and they would normally call it pork show. That gives an indication that most of these people got their inspiration from that one single program that was held in Ghana that transformed the image of pig and also pork from something that many people will shun from to something that people today will queue for. So publicity, mass education are all important, but most importantly is the government support. Let government show that this is the way we are going. Take the lead, make the necessary policies, and I believe the people of Ghana will follow and we'll see a transformation. For people who want to enter the industry, I would advise that you don't enter any industry without the necessary information. Here we have had so many people come in who have entered blindly and are having challenges before they come for advice. That is not really the best. So you go to somebody's farm, the person is having a challenge. Even the structures are not properly constructed. So what does he do? Does he demolish everything and start again? So don't jump in without adequate information. And in every district in Ghana, we have Ministry of Agric offices with extension officers paid by the government to advise farmers to do the right thing. You get advice from them without a penny. If you are close or you have access to an institution like this that does research, our doors are always open. You walk in any time, you will get an expert in the particular area of your challenge, to help solve their problems. The problems are many, and interaction with farmers and then farmers interacting with researchers and experts is important. It helps enrich the research agenda and at the same time get solutions to the farmers. So the interactions are very useful, and there are so many farmers who actually come to interact with us. But for some reason, it is not, people coming to university think that maybe you have to have a lot of money before you can come and consult. But it is not so at all. You can actually get free advice. Not always, but sometimes you can get free advice that will help you improve the way you do things.